Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto fell in love with Wendy Marvell, part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. The village hidden in the leaves, one of the 5 main ninja villages. 4 years ago, the strongest of the 9 Bijuu, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, was forcefully extracted from his previous host by a man in a black cloak and orange spiral mask to attack the village. The 4th Hokage sacrificed himself to the Kyuubi by summoning the Shinigami to seal the Kyuubi into his very own newborn son, Naruto. He asked the 3rd Hokage that his son be seen as a hero. Sad to say, the village did not heed the 4th's wish. They saw him as the Kyuubi himself, though a few did honor the wish of the 4th. Time skip, 4 years post-Kyuubi attack. It has been 4 years since the Kyuubi attacked the village. A boy no older than 4 is seen running from a mob of angry villagers and shinobi. "Let's get the demon brat," someone in the crowd yelled. The civilians were holding torches, pitchforks, and clubs, whilst the shinobi were holding shuriken and kunai. One of the shinobi threw his kunai, hitting the boy's leg. With a loud scream of pain, the boy fell to the floor, crashing into the wall of the alley. "Now then, let's finish what Lord Force started," the same speaker said out loud. The roars of agreement could be heard from several blocks away. While this was happening, another villager started approaching Naruto and kicked him in the gut, hard. He then proceeded to grab Naruto by the scruff of his shirt, brought his face to eye level, let him drop, and delivered a viscous uppercut into Naruto's face, as he fell, bursting his lip, and sending him flying into the cheering crowd. "You won't escape this time, demon brat," a 3rd villager roared. Naruto started to panic. He was surrounded on all sides with no hope of escaping, not with his injured leg, and the near paralyzing pain from his skull. He didn't even feel his busted lip. Why? Why are you doing this to me?" Naruto asked through the tears that had formed in his eyes. Why? Why? You know damn well why, you monster. You took a lot of people away from us, people whom we cared for. Now, the time for retribution has come. A 4th villager shouted, throwing a glass bottle at Naruto. The bottle left a gash where it hit Naruto's head, and the force was enough to send Naruto's head crashing into the floor. The villagers then started to close in on Naruto, and began beating him with the clubs they carried, beating Naruto to within an inch of his life. The shinobi joined in by cutting and stabbing Naruto with their kunai, until Naruto was nothing more than a mass of bruises and cuts, both deep and shallow. And all the while Naruto was screaming his lungs out in agony. Eventually one of the shinobi had had enough of his screaming, and kicked Naruto hard in the face, knocking him unconscious. Mindscape. Deep inside Naruto's mind, Kurama, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, is watching his young host's latest beating, and knows this is the worst one he's gotten yet. "If I don't do something fast, he won't survive," Kurama thought, whilst thinking of something he could do to help. Only one thing came to mind. "This could work if I use that technique, but if I do, then not only will I be free of the seal, but it would also transport my brothers and sisters, as well as their hosts." He continued to think. A loud cracking noise caught his attention, and he saw that some of the pipes were cracking. If he didn't do something quickly, as in now, both he and his hosts were as good as dead. "Screw this. It is time to end this madness," he thought to himself whilst molding the required chakra and running through the seals. "Everyone, please forgive me, but I have no choice." Sage art. Yin-Yang style. Dimension world crossing, Kurama yells, feeling the technique activate. In the real world, the mob attacking Naruto had finally stopped. "Now, time to die, demon," a villager said, grabbing a kunai from the shinobi next to him. The others shouted in agreement. "What is going on here?" A voice full of both authority and killing intent yelled at the group, making everyone freeze in their tracks. Slowly they all turned around to see an old man wearing a white robe with the symbol of fire on it. "Nothing, Lord Hokage," the villager who had grabbed the kunai replied. "Oh really? Because it seems to me as though you were busy beating a defenseless child, and were about to commit murder of said child," the Hokage said, pausing to take a breath. "Anbu, arrest everyone here, and take them to Ibiki and I tell him to have fun. Dog, let's get Naruto to the hospital immediately." "Yes, Lord Hokage," the Anbu all said in unison. Suddenly everyone's attention was drawn to the unconscious and bleeding form of Naruto, which began glowing brightly, before the light suddenly vanished, and along with it, Naruto. "Sir, what was that light?" an Anbu asked. "I do not know, but I do know that Naruto is now gone," the old man said after seeing that Naruto had disappeared. "Find him at once," he yelled. "Yes sir," the Anbu yelled. Nobody would realize it until much later that Naruto was no longer in the elemental nations, or even in their world for that matter, but in another one entirely. Line break. In the mindscapes of the 8 other Jinchuriki, the other Bijuu were all wondering the same thing. Why had Kurama used their father's technique? Also, would they be free from their seals? Thus, they prepared for a new life in another world. Up in the skies of Ishtar, a tear appeared in the fabric of space, and 9 shining lights could be seen going into different directions. A pale pink dragon flying up in the sky noticed the lights, especially the one that crashed near her den. Curious, she decided to investigate. She arrived to find an orange-colored cat next to a severely battered, bruised, and bleeding young boy. Kurama noticed her arrival as she landed and, thinking that she had come to eat Naruto, transformed into his true form. "Who are you? Are you here to eat the boy?" he asked. The dragon was shocked that something as small as a cat could suddenly transform into a giant nine-tailed fox, as big as herself as well as speak. "I am Tsukiyomi, the moon dragon, and no, I am not here to eat the boy." She introduced herself and answered his question. "However, I am here to help. A friend of mine who lives fairly close by can heal the boy of his injuries, but we will have to leave now." Kurama, not sensing any deceit or ill intent from her, decided to trust her. "Alright, but if this is a trap, I will end you," he threatened. "Understood," Tsukiyomi said. "Though I might suggest turning into that cat form of yours. I may not be able to carry you like this." "Fine." Kurama growled. He hated using one of his smallest transformations. It always left him feeling small compared to the world around him. Tsukiyomi gently lifted Naruto in her hand, with Kurama hopping on next to the kid. "Hold on tight, I won't hold back on this speed," she said, before jumping into the sky, and flew with considerable speed towards the west woods of Fiori, where her old friend lived with her daughter. She didn't know that she had unknowingly changed the fate of said daughter in the process. Thus, both Naruto and Kurama began their new journey in a land full of mystery to them. July 6, unknown year, skies of Ishtar. Tsukiyomi could be seen flying at an extremely fast speed, in order to see her old friend, the queen of the skies, Grandine the sky dragon. "Hey, overgrown lizard, who is this friend of yours that you are taking us to in order to treat the kid?" Kurama asked, curiosity clear in his voice. "She had better not try to kill us or else," he thought to himself. "Firstly, don't call me an overgrown lizard, you oversized furball," Tsukiyomi growled. "And to answer your question, my friend is the queen of the skies, Grandine the sky dragon. When it comes to healing, there is nobody better at healing in the world than her." "What about the gods?" Kurama asked. Tsukiyomi snorted. "They are too lazy to give a damn anymore, choosing to let us dragons do as we wish." She murmured something else that to Kurama sounded like lazy morons, useless bastards, and so on, and so forth. Kurama's sweat dropped at her attitude, and clear disrespect towards gods. Then again, the gods of this world were clearly different to those in his world. She then turned her attention to the kid in her hand, lying there next to the transforming furball. What was his name? I wonder what had happened in order for the kid to end up in this state. Not to mention the fact that the cat fox thing can hold that much power in a body that small. That one is scary stuff, and he isn't even female. Not to mention he could probably defeat me and Grandine in combat at the same time. He might even be a match for that battle-savvy moron Ignil. How he ever found a kid to look after willing to put up with him, I will never know, Tsukiyomi thought. Somewhere else in Ishtar, a huge red dragon sneezed, sending the small pink-haired kid flying into a rock with the force of his sneeze. "Geez, Dad, I thought you said you wouldn't attack," the pink-haired boy said, before leaping again, igniting his fist in flame. "Sorry Natsu, but someone must have been talking about me," Ignil told him, then gave minimal effort to brace for his son's attack. Could it have been that Tsukiyomi dragon chick? Nah, she is too antisocial to understand the pride that comes with being a dragon king, let alone get herself a kid to train, he thought. If only he knew. He was too deep in his thoughts to notice that Natsu was beginning to barrage him with flaming punches. Back with Kurama, Tsukiyomi, and Naruto. "Hey, Fox, I never got your name. Mind telling me?" she asked. "Kurama. My name is Kurama." Kurama introduced himself. "I am Kyubi no Kitsune, the strongest of the 9 Biju." The last bit showed his hubris. Kurama is a nice name. "Though I cannot say that I ever heard of the 9 Biju before," Tsukiyomi said, curious. "I'd be well and truly surprised if you had," Kurama said. "In truth, we are not from this world, but from one called the Elemental Nations," he explained. "So, if you came from another world, how did you end up in this one?" she asked. "And what in that world could have caused the kid to have such injuries?" "Look, I will only say what I have to say once, and I am sure that your friend will want to know, as well. It will take a while to recount everything anyway," Kurama said. "You were right about my friend. Even when we were younger, she was quite the nosy one, gentle, but nosy," Tsukiyomi said. They continued flying for another half an hour, in silence, with Kurama now truly appreciating the sheer speed that the dragon could achieve in the last 30 minutes. They could have flown from the eastern shores of Mizu no Kuni, land of water, to the western border of Kei's no Kuni, land of wind, a distance that would take him around 3 days. "Kurama, we are approaching my friend's home," Tsukiyomi said. "That was fast. I really hope she can heal the kid," Kurama said. Suddenly he heard a small noise, and transformed into a small fox with huge ears. Big mistake. For the instant he did, Tsukiyomi let out an ear-shattering roar as a way of letting her friend know that she is on her way. Roar, which was joined by, as Kurama screamed in pain coming from his abused ears. "What in the name of Dad was I thinking?" he asked himself. Moments earlier, at a cave in the west woods of Fiori, a young girl with blue hair can be seen practicing magic, with a huge white dragon watching her from behind. This young girl is called Wendy Marvell. She is an orphan whose parents either left her, lost her or died. The white dragon is called Grandine. She had found Wendy a few months ago and decided to adopt the cute little girl as her own kid and began teaching her magic. Sky Dragon slaying magic. At the moment, Wendy could be seen taking in the air around her and focusing it into her own power. Sky Dragon's roar, she yells, unleashing a tunnel of wind from her mouth towards a small boulder. The horizontal tornado-like wind smashed into the boulder with a resounding crunch, leaving a deep crack running all the way through it. Alright. I did it, mommy. I finally did it. She yells happily. Grandine smiled at her daughter. Well done, Wendy, you are improving tremendously. Now, how about you try the Sky Dragon's talons on those trees over there, she said before she was interrupted. Or, Wendy instantly ran towards her mother and hid amongst the feather-like scales that made up Grandine's skin. Mommy, what was that? She stuttered. And what are those scents I am smelling? She added once she had taken a few deep breaths. Oh, that was a dragon's roar and a cry of pain. As for the smells, those belong to a human, a cat, fox, blood, and an old friend of mine who usually remains in her own home. Grandine said. How about you go inside for a bit? She suggested. Okay, mommy. Wendy said, climbing out of her warm and cozy hiding spot amongst her mother's scales, and ran into the cave. Why is Tsukiyomi coming here? And who are the ones with her? Grandine thought. Also, what could have caused her to come out of her isolated nature? I guess I will be getting some answers soon. She looked up to see the pale pink dragon flying above her. Her eyes almost glowed with desperation. Grandine. The pale pink dragon shouted whilst coming in to land. In the cave, Wendy was knocked off her feet and into the air by the force of the landing dragon. Outside, Tsukiyomi, my old friend. What is wrong? Are you hurt? Grandine said. In answer, Tsukiyomi looked at her hands as she opened them, revealing an orange cat and, not me, but this kid is in desperate need of your healing. Tsukiyomi said. A heavily injured kid whose skin had turned an unhealthy white by now. What in the world happened to him? Grandine said in surprise. The boy looked absolutely horrible to her. No idea. I saw some strange lights in the sky near my home and went to investigate. That is where I found Kurama and the kid. Seeing the state the boy is in, I brought him to you for help. Tsukiyomi said before suddenly taking in a breath of air. Only Kurama knows what happened to him, but do you mind? The longer you two talk, the less chance there is that the kid will survive. Kurama said. Of course. Grandine said. Let's get him into the cave where I will start healing him. Kurama transformed into a 5-tailed kitsune and used his tails to carry Naruto into the cave, much to the shock of Grandine. Tsukiyomi was less surprised, as she at least knew that he could transform. Wendy, I am coming in with some guests, and someone who needs immediate healing. Grandine called out as she entered the cave. I am going to need your help with this one. On my way, mommy. Wendy said, as she came running. What do you need me to do? Wendy, this is my old friend, Tsukiyomi, the moon dragon, and her friend Kurama, and the one who needs healing. What was his name again? Grandine thought. Kurama, realizing that he hadn't given anyone Naruto's name yet, said, Naruto, his name is Naruto. He said. When Wendy arrived from around the corner, the first two things that went through his mind was the kid will either be her best friend, or the two of them will one day get married at least. If Naruto becomes anything like his father, even he had to admit that the blue hair on the girl's head was a sight to see. Wendy gasped when she first laid eyes upon the boy, who was about her age and height, and had 3 whisker marks on each cheek that she thought were absolutely cute and adorable, which sent her into a blushing state when she realized what she had just thought. Then she looked at the rest of his body and nearly threw up. Sure, her mother had now and then brought in some animals who had deep cuts and injuries, but never had she seen anything like this. What happened to him? Wendy asked, shocked. Please make sure that he will survive first. Kurama said. I will explain everything after that. Grandine nodded at that, then began telling Wendy what to do on her side, as both of them began using their magic to heal the boy. Nearly half an hour later, okay, we got him to a point where he will survive. Actually, Wendy could handle the rest from here. Grandine said, thinking about the rest. Then in that case, you'd better listen because this will take a while, Kurama said, and began telling the 2 dragons what had happened, at which point Wendy had finished healing the boy, and had curled up next to him, fast asleep. Kurama paused to look at the 2 kids, and immediately wished he had a camera on hand. The 2 looked too damn cute together. He was sure that Matatabi would have gone all girly over the pair. Shaking his head, he returned to explaining the situation to the 2 dragons. Next morning, Kurama's explanation continued until early morning, and Tsukiyomi now knew why he said he'd only tell it once. It had taken the fox around 8 hours of constant uninterrupted talking to tell the tale, which included the history of his world, his father's and uncle's fight with the Jubi, 10 tails, how he came to be, the nature of shinobi, chakra, the origin and history of the hidden villages, the Uchiha and Senju clans, Naruto's parents, everything. So now you know what had happened to him, and why I used that technique to come here. Kurama said. I cannot believe that there exists a world where humans can be so stupid. Tsukiyomi growled. She now really wanted to go to that world, and tear the villagers of this Konohagakure a new one, and maybe blow some stuff up whilst she was at it. I agree with you there, old friend. And I can see why you came out of isolation there. Grandine said. Humans, even though it happened in another world, no child should suffer like this, or have gotten this type of treatment, she thought. A thought suddenly came to her, one she found interesting. Hey Tsukiyomi, she said. Yes, Grandine, why do you have that smug look on your face? Tsukiyomi asked. Why don't you adopt him, and teach him your magic? Grandine asked. That is actually a good idea. Kurama agreed. And maybe teach him some things that are his birthright. What? Tsukiyomi shouted. What would I know about raising a child? Call it motherly instinct. Kurama said. The groan caught their attention when they saw that Naruto was waking up. Naruto opened his eyes only to come face to face with a cute girl that nearly had him blushing. So pretty hair, Naruto muttered, entering a daze. His breath roused the girl from her sleep, and she in turn got entranced by the deepest pair of blue eyes she had ever seen. Good morning, Wendy, Naruto. Grandine, and Naruto said. Okay, maybe we should have separated them while they slept. They are too far gone. Grandine's sweat dropped, seeing that neither of the kids had heard them. Kurama and Tsukiyomi giggled at her reaction. Ramen's ready, Kurama said. Immediately Naruto stood up and looked around, startling the young girl next to him. Ramen? Where? Naruto asks. Sorry kid, that was a lie to get you back to the living world, Kurama said. Who are you? Naruto asked. Name's Kurama, kid. Though I think you should introduce yourself to the cutie next to you, Kurama said. This time when Naruto looked at the young girl next to him, he didn't space out, though he came close to it. How do I introduce myself again? Naruto asked Kurama after a moment of silence, making him and the two dragons face the plant. The girl giggled, catching Naruto's attention. You greet and give your name. She continued giggling. My name is Wendy Marvell. Oh, that's how it works, Naruto said. Nice to meet you, Marvell-chan. I'm Naruto. Naruto, I forgot to tell you that people say the order of their names differently here, Kurama said. Huh? What do you mean? Naruto asked. Wendy giggled again. She honestly thought that Naruto's personality was very likable. My given name is Wendy, Naruto-kun. Oh, still don't get it, Naruto said. And you two want me to adopt this guy? Tsukiyomi said to Kurama and Grandine. Huh? You want to adopt Naruto-kun? I think that is a great idea. Wendy cheered. Not you two, Tsukiyomi shouted, much to the laughter of Kurama and Grandine. Wendy, why don't you go and play with Naruto outside whilst I try to convince this knucklehead to accept? Grandine suggested. Wendy nodded and grabbed Naruto's hand as she ran out of the cave. It didn't take long for Grandine to convince Tsukiyomi to adopt young Naruto. Time skip, July 7th, at 777:11 p.m. It has been about a year since Naruto and Kurama came to this world and met Grandine, Tsukiyomi, and Wendy. During this time, Tsukiyomi taught Naruto her branch of dragon-slaying magic, Moon Dragon-slaying magic. Kurama himself also played his part by teaching Naruto some of the things from his old world, such as chakra, tree climbing, and also began teaching him his father's signature melee technique, the Rasengan. Needless to say, when Wendy discovered that since she didn't have chakra, she couldn't learn the Rasengan, she sulked for the rest of the day. Speaking of the girl, since Naruto arrived, Grandine and Tsukiyomi had moved in together, meaning that most of the time, the two of them trained together, and although she was his senior in terms of skills, Naruto somehow managed to catch up to her within half a year. From that point on, the two of them had a friendly rivalry. Kurama had also told him about his family, origins, and the reason behind the hate and beatings. Although Naruto shouted at him and vented his frustration and anger, he eventually came to understand Kurama's reasoning, after somehow managing to catch the fox unawares and driving a Rasengan into his backside. That, and when he slapped some sense into him. Now the two young kids were sleeping in each other's arms, having found that it is warmer that way and more comfortable. I really wish I had a camera right now, Kurama said. The two dragons agreed with him there. As long as they have each other, they will be fine, not to mention, they will still have you with them, Krusan. Tsukiyomi said. Taking one last look at their children, Grandine and Tsukiyomi decided that it was time. It is time, please look after them first. Grandine told Kurama. He nodded. He watched as they departed, going to a place only he knew where to find them individually, and in time, where he could help their children find them as well. The Macau arc. Lucy meets Fairy Tail's Natsu and Happy, who are looking for a certain salamander. After Natsu and Happy saved Lucy from some slavers and destroyed half a town in the process, the three of them return to Magnolia, where Fairy Tail is located. Lucy fulfills her dream of joining the famous guild, but soon after joins Natsu in looking for a boy's father, who had been missing for a few days. After unknowingly beating the crap out of Macau, the boy's father, the four of them return to Fairy Tail. The Daybreak arc. Natsu talks Lucy into going on a mission together with him, and together they take their first official mission together, as a team, which involves them destroying a certain book. After trying numerous options at infiltrating the book's location, they went with Plan R, rush in through the front door and beat them up. Lucy was not happy when Natsu and Happy decided to refuse the payment. On the way back they encountered another Fairy Tail mage known as Grey, who delivered a warning. The Lullaby Arc. The S-rank mage known as Urza returned from a mission, and after lecturing basically the entire guild about individual behaviors, asked Grey and Natsu to help her to investigate Eisenwald, a dark guild banned by the council that had been up to no good recently. Together with Lucy and Happy, they came along to keep the two from fighting. Yeah right, they managed to prevent Eisenwald's plan, and managed to destroy a demon from the Book of Zeref. Natsu, being the disaster-prone dragon slayer, went overboard with his finishing move, and destroyed the guildmaster's meeting hall in the process, proclaiming it to have been easy. The Galuna Island and Phantom Lord arc. Natsu and Happy decide to take an S-rank job without permission, and drag Lucy along when they tell her that one of the celestial keys she's looking for could be found there. Grey is sent to bring them back, but eventually decides to join in. On the island, they encounter Grey's senior in ice-making magic, and both sides clash it out, with Fairy Tail coming out victorious after Urza appears, first to bring the wayward mages back, but being convinced by Grey at the end to help. After completing the mission, it turned out that the inhabitants of the island had been demons all along, and Natsu would fit right in, being just as happy-go-lucky and loud as they are. Upon returning from the island, they discovered that their guild hall had been trashed by Phantom Lord, and after finding 3 of their friends nailed to a tree with the symbol of Phantom Lord painted on their bodies, the 3 of them joined in the war. A few destroyed buildings later, and Fairy Tail came out victorious, and Phantom Lord was disbanded. Soon after, a mage named Loke disappeared, and everyone went looking for him. Lucy found him at the grave of a fellow celestial mage. It turns out that Loke was none other than Leo, the lion spirit. After convincing the Celestial King about Loke's innocence, Loke is allowed to return, as Leo gives Lucy his key, and gives tickets for an expensive resort at the beach. Tower of Heaven arc. Natsu, Grey, Happy, Lucy, and Urza go, and enjoyed their vacation at the resort, where they were ambushed by some of Urza's old friends from an unknown part of her past. After rushing after Urza, who allowed herself to be captured in order to save the others, they learn of her troubled past, as a slave in the very tower they were standing in. Whilst the battle rages, Joel's doppelganger, Siegfried, tricks the Magic Council into firing Satellite Square. Etherian on the tower, helping to remove it from existence along with some pesky fairy tale wizards. Instead the tower absorbed the magical energy, and Urza got captured, only for Natsu to free her. Whilst battling Joel, Natsu enters Dragon Force for the first time, and destroys large portions of the now Crystal Tower, along with defeating Joel. He then prevented Urza from an attempted self-sacrifice that she hoped would prevent the tower from exploding. Fighting Festival arc. After returning home to find their guild rebuilt, Laxus attempts a coup of sorts, wanting to reform the guild, so that only the strongest wizards remain in the guild. After numerous battles, the number of fairy tale wizards are whittled down until only 4 remain. Misogun appears, and battles Laxus to a standstill until Urza, Natsu, and Gadgil appear. Misogun disappears whilst Natsu and Gadgil duke it out with Laxus, who reveals himself to be a second-generation dragon slayer. Laxus is defeated, and subsequently expelled from Fairy Tail. During the festival, he sees a symbol that made him reminiscent of the past, and decides to live by the principles of Fairy Tail, instead of his own. It has been a few weeks since then, and the Magic Council has summoned 4 guild masters to a briefing concerning the Balam Alliance. Guildmaster meeting place. Makarok sights, as he adjusted the collar of his wizard saint cloak. The clack of Fairy Tail's guildmaster's staff echoed through the hallways, as he approached the doors of the council chamber. And now the council wants to talk to me about something. What do those assholes want now? He grumbled, not caring that the guards could hear every word he said, or rather, he was counting on it. He stopped before a pair of large doors that lead to the council chambers. With a tired sigh, he opened the doors, and stepped in. Looking around, he saw a pair of well-known faces, Master Bob from Blue Pegasus, a man who used to be in Fairy Tail back in the day, and Uba Babasama, an old crone who runs the Lamius Scale Guild. Baba, what are you two doing here? Makarov asked, seeing both of them in the jury area. Bob was an elderly, bald, and cross-dressing man. He has a rather pale complexion, and was wearing his signature purple spaghetti strap shirt, accessorized by a gold and fuchsia hoop necklace, and vertical striped pink and purple shorts. As a testament of his being a follower of the cross-dressing way, his face was decorated with red lipstick and a blush on each cheek. He had small white wings that fluttered like actual wings attached to his back. Makarov would never understand how the man managed to copy arrow magic, since it was next to impossible for most mages to pull it off. The symbol of his guild was imprinted on his left arm in a deep blue color. Uba was a very old woman, either as old or older than Makarov himself. She is shown with wrinkled skin, small eyes, and bony hands. She has stretched earlobes, and long gray hair tied up in a 3-layered bun. Her outfit consists of a deep red cloak with a rounded gold collar, with a dotted design made of turquoise jewels of some sort. What appeared to be a dark vest was worn underneath it. Uba wore studded bracelets on both arms, and a necklace with 3 sun emblems. Makarov's eyes widened when he saw a third person flickering into existence, showing an elderly man in a tribal getup. And you are? Makarov asked. Ah yes. I haven't been properly introduced to any of the more popular guilds in Fiore yet, have I? My name is Rabel, master of the guild known as Kate Shelter. It is a pleasure to meet you, Makarov, the master of Fairy Tail. Rabel spoke with a respectful bow. Makarov nodded in greeting to the chieftain-looking man. Sorry to say this, but I haven't really ever heard about your guild. Not saying that I haven't, just that you are not on the map so to speak. Why haven't you come in person? Makarov asked. Unlike yours, Master Bob's, and Master Uba's guilds, my guild is far away from here, residing in the Wood Sea. It has been made simpler for me by using this holo communication lacrima to make contact with you all the way here in the Magic Council. Raoul explained. The conversation was interrupted when the doors on the far side of the room opened, and the council members of the new council entered. Makarov's brow furrowed when he saw the first two figures entering. Grand Doma, the new chairman of the reformed Magic Council, and an old man named Org, who survived the destruction of the previous council. The others were really just gap fillers until someone more competent was found to take their seat. And Makarov knew that both Org and Grand Doma absolutely hated Fairy Tail, yet at the same time wouldn't do anything to them, because they haven't done anything that warrants their disbandment. I'm sorry to interrupt your thoughts, Honorable Council, but may you begin to give an explanation as to why you have called me and the other guild masters here today? Raoul asked them. The council members shook their heads to rid themselves of a myriad of thoughts that had swarmed their minds. We shall finish this discussion at a later date. Or told the council members, before turning to the assembled guild masters. At the moment we have more pressing matters to attend to. And those would be? Bob asked. The Balam Alliance has begun to make its move. Grand Doma answered. As you all know, the Balam Alliance is made up of the three strongest dark guilds in Fiori, Oration Says, Grimmerheart, and Tartaros. All three of these powerful dark guilds have numerous subordinate guilds that followed their respective guild leaders' order to the letter. Grimmerheart and Tartaros are, as of yet, still unknown to us, but Oration Says has been both located and its members identified by our information brokers. Using the satellite square. Ethereum's superior viewing capabilities, we have confirmed this information. Next Org spoke. With this information in our grasp, the Magic Council are making a plan to create a strike team to move in and take them out. A light guild alliance. Our members will consist of a single team of mages from each of your guilds. Because you three, Fairy Tail, Blue Pegasus, and Lamia Scale, are currently the top three guilds in Fiori, you will comprise the main force of this strike team. Where are they? Uba asked, spinning her right arm in a circle. I'll have my guild members make them spin. You're already spinning me. An unfortunate council member shouted, spinning on his seat. Do I look like I give a shit? Uba muttered, making the other three guild masters chuckle. They're located in the Wood Sea, in the eastern regions of the forest. Org replied to Uba's question. It is because of this that we have asked Master Rabel's guild to assist us. He will need someone on the inside who knows how to navigate the forest of the Wood Sea, and who better than the guild that makes its home there. I will do what I can to assist my fellow members of this alliance. Rabel said, nodding at the Magic Council. When and where shall we meet? We would request that your members head out immediately upon being chosen back at your respective guilds. Doma answered. As for where, I have a vacation house in the Wood Sea. Bob said. We can have all of our handsome, strong men gather there. That will prove to be problematic if any of us send any female members. Makarov said. Especially if you send the ones I think you are going to send. Possibly, but that is what makes these types of missions fun, isn't it? Bob countered, slyly winking at his old guildmate. This banter made some of the council members chuckle, as it lifted some of the tension in the air. So are you all aware of what you must do? Grand Doma asked. All four guild masters nodded. Good. You are all dismissed. The old man said. Babel's holographic image flickered and died away as he cut a flow of magic energy on his end. Bob, Makarov, and Uba all walked from the room, the large doors closing behind them. Moments later both Org and Doma sat down, rubbing their temples, knowing that no matter what happened, Fairy Tail would end up causing an additional amount of paperwork for them. Troublesome guild. Both thought at the same time. In a faraway world, an entire clan sneezed at the same time, and felt like vowing revenge against some random council for stealing their catchphrase. Unknown location, Wood Sea, Fiori. The light guilds have made their move, and are heading to the Wood Sea to take on your guild. The master of Tartaros spoke through the communication lacrima. His grey eyes, and the shine of his armor he was wearing was the only thing one could see of him in the light of the blue flames in his sitting area. Brain's face showed that he was rather elated at the news. It is about time they made their move. Thank you for the information, Tartaros, he said. An alliance must stick together after all. The master of Tartaros said, before ending the communication. Brain chuckled before he began tossing the orb up and down with his hand. Oration says our prayers will be answered soon enough. Nirvana will be ours. Brain said, throwing the lacrima onto the floor and smashing it into pieces with his skull-faced staff. The members stood staring at their grinning master with calculating silver eyes, as he stood apart from his fellow guild members. Said guild members were also smiling at the words of their master, and were more than excited at the chance of getting to take down the brats from the Light Guild Alliance. Eyes, can you believe it? Racer asked. We're finally going to be able to make our wishes a reality. With Nirvana on our side soon enough, we Ration says will be unstoppable. Hot, I said, holding an old book to his chest. Angel gave a small smile to the two young men. Yes, Master Brain has truly done us all a great service by bringing us all together in a Ration says to bring about the resurrection of the mighty Nirvana. The silver-haired woman got a smile from the other members, except for Midnight, who was sleeping again. This will be easy, as pie. Cobra said to his fellow guildmates. You said it. Damn straight, was their reply. If only they knew that this pie coming their way would be quite different from the ones they are used to biting into. It has been 7 long years since the dragons had disappeared, leaving their children to fend for themselves. Of course, said children have all gone to look for their parents, and ask them for the reason behind their disappearance, to no avail. Naruto, Wendy, and Kurama eventually found themselves at a small guild called Cage Shelter, after a kind young teenager helped them out. In these 7 years, Wendy found an egg that she thought was a dragon egg, only for it to hatch into a snow-white cat with wings, which had prompted Kurama to secretly sweat drop. Turns out that the cat had the ability to use magic. Wendy, overjoyed that she now had a pet friend, named her Charla. Speaking of Naruto and Wendy, during these last 7 years, they practiced and trained together, forming what was probably the guild's strongest team, whilst also the youngest. And although neither knew about it, both were too damn scared to act, i.e. confess, on their mutual feelings for each other, something that gave Kurama many good night's dreams, filled with hilarious, for him, situations involving the two teens' damn sadistic fox. Now they were standing in their guild hall with their guild mates, and master, Naruto, and Wendy. I have a mission for the two of you. The old chieftain-looking man said. What's the mission, Gramps? Naruto asked Raoul, with Wendy looking on just as curious. It isn't unusual for the master to speak to them or one of the other teams for missions, just a rare event, as Cage Shelter focuses more on the textile industry than mission job requests. I am sending you two to meet the members of the other guilds of the Alliance to take on a Ration says. Raoul said. But why the two of us, Master Raoul? Wendy asked. Because I know that you two will not fail me. You also have other people from the Alliance helping you. Not to mention that the two of you are also our strongest mages, not only when you fight together. Raoul said with a smile of pride. Oh, so we surpassed you already? Naruto asked with a smirk. Wendy giggled at the jab, as did several others. In your dream, youngling. Raoul shot back. The two stared smirked at each other, before both burst out laughing. This had been an ongoing thing ever since Naruto declared himself the next guild master about 2 years ago. Anyway, take Kurama and Charla with you. They can act as support and to keep you out of trouble. Raoul said. Hey, we don't get into that much trouble. Raoul looked expectantly at Naruto. Okay, Wendy doesn't, Naruto finally admitted. Another round of giggling and chuckling. But what am I supposed to do if trouble wants me, as a friend? Join another guild, Raoul suggested. And leave Wendy here. Not to mention the competition for the seat of guildmaster. No way, Naruto countered. Next to him Wendy got a little blush dusting her cheeks, which she is trying to lose. Raoul chuckled a bit before clearing his throat with a cough. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. He handed over a map with a mark on the southern side of the Weed Sea. That is where the Alliance is meeting, at Master Bob's vacation home. Better get going, younglings. Don't want to be late now, do we? Of course, old man master. Naruto and Wendy said, before walking out of the building. Outside, they quickly went to their shared dormitory, and got their gear, with Naruto gathering some kunai, as Kurama called them. Naruto, after much experimenting and trial and error, had learned to combine his chakra with his magic and the knives, creating what he calls Moonblade technique. The two then went outside, and called Kurama and Charla, with the former transforming into a horse-size, 5-tailed kitsune, which Naruto had at one point playfully dubbed the awesome public transport fox, much to Kurama's immediate ire, and Wendy's mirth. Even the usually stoic Charla had to suppress a giggle. Climb on you three. Let's get this show on the road. Kurama called. Okay, we're ready. Naruto called. And please don't go all rodeo on us. Wouldn't dream of it. Kurama said, before holding up crossed fingers and a smirk. Oh crap. Naruto shouted in horror, whilst Wendy let out a cry of joy, and Charla just facepalmed. This was getting old. Blue Pegasus vacation home, Wood Sea, Fiore. So is this all of us? Grateful Buster asked, looking at the assembled mages from Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, and Fairy Tail. All three guilds had sent their strongest team in order to defeat the weakest link in the Balam Alliance. Ration says. Isn't there supposed to be a fourth guild? Lucy Herphilia asked. Yes. Cage Shelter. Lion Vassar said. Know anything about them? I must say I have never heard of them before this mission. Gray asked his fellow Ice Mate disciple. Lion looked at Sherry Blendy and Juranicus, both of whom shook their heads. We've got nothing, he answered. Anyone else? Gray asked. His fellow Fairy Tail mages shook their heads, as well as did most of the mages from Blue Pegasus. From what I have on archive, Cage Shelter specializes more on creating local clothing, though they have two teams that go out on outside jobs now and then. Hibiki said, starting up his archive magic. Several images appeared, showing a cat's head-shaped building with the letters for Cage Shelter written on a board hung over the entrance. Unfortunately, I don't have anything on the members other than the guildmaster, Rabble, Hibiki added. Another image appeared showing an old chieftain-looking man. So in other words, you don't have any idea either. Gray and Lion deadpanned. Suddenly the doors of the meeting house opened, and all three groups turned to face the open doors. Their eyes widened when they saw two small figures entering, their features shadowed by the light, entering the room. Once their eyes adjusted, they saw that the two figures were two young children, standing before them. Both of them looked to be around 12, maybe 13, years old. The girl was dressed in a blue cloak which had a hood that was currently thrown back, blue blouse, and a black shirt, with sky blue trimmings. Her entire apparel consisted of different shades of blue and black, with blue being the main suit, and black on the cloak and hood. On the back of her cloak was the image of a cat in dark blue, the symbol of Cage Shelter. The pins holding the cloak to the shirt were cross-shaped. Her hair was a deep shape of blue, bordering on being akin to that of a sapphire's, and it went all the way to just above her waistline. She had dark brown eyes that showed pure innocence. Hanging from her neck was a necklace made from a small chain with a white sapphire crystal shaped to look like a feathery winged dragon. The boy was dressed eating the same type of cloak, instead his was gold instead, with a silver shirt, a thin open orange jacket, and black pants with silver linings. On the back of his cloak was the same cat symbol, only this time in silver. Like the girl, the pins were cross-shaped. His hair was a bright shade of blonde, almost gold in color. He had deep sapphire, cerulean blue eyes that showed quite a mischievous innocence that sent a chill down their backs, as well as more pain that anyone his age, or even someone twice his age, should go through. Hanging around his neck was a chain necklace with a rose quartz, also shaped into the shape of a dragon. "Greetings everyone," the girl began. "We are the representatives of Cage Shelter," she finished, bowing shyly. "Please treat us well." The boy just waves his hand. "Nice to meet the two of you," Lucy said with an unsure tone. "They're so very young. She's so cute," Hibiki Lates commented, as he held up a rose to the young girl's face, a cute blush coming to her face. "Cute?" she squeaked. It was clear that she wasn't used to being complimented. "A beauty indeed," Ren Akatsuki declared, taking the girl's hand. "May I pour you some tea? Or be your slave for life?" Eve tear-masked, whilst knocking the boy out of the way. The girl felt an eyebrow twitching at that, but didn't feel a shred of sympathy for what was about to happen to the three guys surrounding her. The other assembled mages minus the fat ugly creature that apparently was also a member of Blue Pegasus. Sweat dropped at the dreamy eyes of the Trimans of Blue Pegasus, as they crowded the young girl. No one noticed the boy standing up, veins popping on his forehead, and his eyes shadowed by his hair until he appeared between the girl and the Trimans, and in one swift and powerful movement, sent them flying away from the girl with a kick. The girl meanwhile was unfazed by this, and turned to speak to the Trimans. "Okay look, you're all very sweet and all, but you are honestly very creepy. Sorry." The girl bowed in apology. When she raised her eyes, she was surprised to see that all three of the Trimans were sitting in a corner with clouds of depression over their heads. "Serves you pedophiles right," the boy spoke up. "We are not pedophiles or creepy." The three of them drones out. "Either way, you are too old for me," Wendy said, making them slump again. "Seriously though, who are you brats?" They all turned to look at Gray who had spoken. He had an annoyed look on his face. "Look here kids, I don't know if this is some kind of joke or something, but this is not a game. You're young, and you've got your whole life ahead of you both, and not to mention your shy demeanor and fragile frame isn't going, this all to Wendy, to deter Ray Sensei's from killing you. Tell your guild to send someone who's actually worth their salt in fighting against one of the three top dark guilds," he said to the boy and girl. Everyone was silent, and the blue-haired girl and blonde boy looked at Gray with very strange smiles. One could see the muscles under their eyes twitching whilst the veins were popping out all over their heads, and when they, everyone minus the two kids, blinked, they were gone. Gray suddenly felt himself smashed into the floor, as a powerful force landed on his head. The two kids were nothing but small breezes from where they had been standing mere moments earlier, and now Gray was face first in the ground with said kids standing on his head and back. Looking up, Gray's eyes widened when he saw both preteens stare down at him with a fierce gaze in their eyes. He couldn't believe he was seeing such eyes on children that young. Sure, he had seen a lot of things when he was younger than the girl, but the boy looked as though he had been to hell and back numerous times, judging by the ferocity and killing intent he was giving off. "You dare call us weak, pervert?" The two pressed down harder on Gray's back. Gray grit his teeth at being forced onto the ground by these two brats, before they moved away from the teen. "Who are you?" a short man named Ichiya said, as he hung in the air from the end of a spear being held by a beautiful girl named Urza Scarlet, who was keeping him away, as far as possible. The eyes of the girl and boy became serious, as they looked at the other light mages from where they stood. An aura of sky blue magic formed around the girl, taking the shape of a feathery roaring dragon. At the same time a light pink aura formed around the boy, taking the shape of a roaring dragon, as well. Both their round pupils turned into vertical slits. The boy released a growl, and both bared their teeth, revealing long, sharp canines. The mages from Fairy Tail were immediately reminded of Natsu during one of his rages. I am a representative of Kate's shelter. I am the adopted daughter of the Sky Dragon, Grandine. I am the Sky Dragon Slayer, Wendy Marvell. The girl said. And I am the other representative of Kate's shelter. I am the adopted son of the Moon Dragon, Tsukiyomi. I am the Moon Dragon Slayer, Naruto Tsuki, believe it. The boy introduced himself immediately afterwards. And don't you underestimate us for being young. They both growled out mainly at Gray, but partially at the others, just so that they would get the memo. Also, we're the strongest mages in Kate's shelter at least when it comes to fighting. Ha. Naruto-kun, is it you? Urza suddenly said. Urza, oh great, it just had to be your fairy tale, sent Naruto deadpanned, with an undertone of fear. Do you know each other? Everyone asked. Long story short, when they met on a mission a while back, she found him so cute she nearly suffocated him with her hug. A new voice spoke from the entrance. Then walked an orange cat, and behind him a white cat. Naruto had to delay the start of the mission for an entire day, just to make sure that she wasn't in the town anymore. The orange cat continued. Wendy turned to glare at Ursa, and instinctively grabbed onto his arm. The message was clear to all except for the boy. He's mine, bitch. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.